Hey team, so this mat video is going to be for anyone wanting to exercise and move their body while keeping your torso in a neutral position. So we're going to be avoiding flexion, rotation, extension, and side bending, but still get the arms, legs, abs, and back body engaged. All right, so we're going to start with a nice flat back. And keeping the chest lifted, you're going to reach your right arm forward to straight, fingertips stay on the mat, and then bring the hand back right underneath the shoulder. So 5 times total. And then the left arm. And then we'll work the legs, extending back to straight, abs are on tight, working from the right glute. The abs are on here, chest is lifted, and then lower down to touch the mat and lift up nice and high. 5 times total. And let's switch to the left. The more that you engage the abdominals and then engage that glute and then kind of fine tune it to keep the abs reaching up and the glute toning, will get more out of the exercise itself. And then all the way in. So if it's possible, we're going to do opposite arm and leg at the same time. If that doesn't feel right in your body, you're just going to continue with the arm mobility. But if possible, right leg is going to go back, left arm is going to reach forward, and then you lift the arm and the leg. This is going to challenge your balance. Lower down to touch and lift up. Lower down to touch and lift. 2 more. And come all the way in. And then left leg, right arm, total of 5. This might be a bit of a challenge, so see how it goes. You adjust the feet so that the ball of the foot is getting stretched and the toes are pressing down into the mat. Strong upper body, flat back, and you'll hover the knees up and slowly lower them down. If you can, you're going to really take your time in controlling the up as well as the down. And if we can get 2 more in, that would be great. Okay, so from here, sitting up nice and tall, breathe. We're just going to get a little bit of mobility for the upper body. So hands on the shoulders, elbows circle, keeping the spine nice and straight. 1 more time in this direction and then reverse. And then come to sitting, knees are bent, and we're just going to hinge back at the hips, keeping the back straight, and lift up through the chest. The arms are supporting behind the thighs so that we don't go too much into overworking the back or the hip flexors. So we're getting mobility, but it's supported. One more, please. And so you can either continue with this variation, or to increase the challenge, you're gonna lean back a little bit, and we're still lifting through the chest, keeping the head in line with the spine. And then you're gonna reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. Float that arm out to the right. Bend the elbow down towards the ground, bringing the hand into the shoulder. So you reach up towards the ceiling, reach out to the right, bend the elbow down, bringing the hand in towards the shoulder. To increase the challenge, maybe you lean back a little bit. If you feel this too much in the low back, you're gonna come up closer to the thighs. And if it doesn't feel right for your body, you can just sit and do the arm mobility and then switch with us when it's ready to go to the left side. Let's do 2 more with the right arm. And then holding behind the thigh, shake out the legs if you need to. Left arm up, out to the left, bend that elbow, hand to the shoulder. Stretch it up, out, and in. 3 more, please. And then coming down to laying onto the mat, hugging the knees in towards the chest. Knees bent, feet flat on the floor, arms down by your sides. Keeping the weight anchored in the hips, in the rib cage, in the shoulders, and in the back of the head. Arms are pressing down, abs are on nice and tight, cinching in at the waist. Now you're just gonna lift your right leg, bent knee, so that it's just above the hip. Abs are tight, and you slowly lower the leg down to touch the mat. 5 times with the right leg. A little circle for the ankle and the foot, and then lower that leg down. Left knee lifts. Again, organize the abdominals, anchor the hips, square off the shoulders as you work the left leg. Two more times. And then you'll circle out the ankle and the foot. Breathe. Now we're going to get a little shoulder mobility. Arms float up towards the ceiling. And you press your rib cage and your back flat into the mat as you continue to stretch your arms back overhead. Arms up towards the ceiling, down to the hips, up to the ceiling, and overhead. Reach to the ceiling, down to the hips. 2 more times. Pressing your back down into the mat. Feeling the stretch around the shoulders and chest. And then pressing down with the arms, keeping your back flat. We're going to come into bridging, just hinging and finding movement in the hip itself. The back stays straight. You engage the glutes, press down with the arms, and lift your hips directly up. All together, one flat back piece lowers down to the mat. Drive the hips up. Lower the hips down, avoiding any flexion or extension of the spine. Abs are on nice and tight. And down. 3 more times. And then from here, extending the legs to straight. We're going to press the entire body down into the mat. Arms, the back of the head, the hips, and the legs. Everything's pressing down. And it should feel like the entire body is engaged. And then relax. Again, press down with the arms, the back of the head, the rib cage, the hips, and legs. Everything's pressing into the basement. Full body activation, keep pressing. And relax. All right, and then we'll get a little bit of mobility with the legs here. Let's just actually start with the right leg. Extend it up towards the ceiling and bend. Extend it up and bend. 2 more times. And then with a straight leg, you're just going to circle the leg, tiny circles, finding the movement deep in the hip socket while keeping the entire torso square and anchored to the floor. The abs are on nice and tight, supporting the spine even here. You've got 2 more circles with the leg. And then reverse for 8. To increase the challenge, you can make this circle bigger. Bending the knee, lowering that leg down to straight. Left knee bends in. Extend the leg up to straight, bend the knee down. 2 more times. With the legs straight, the abs on, the torso pressing and anchoring into the mat, you'll circle the left leg 8 times in one direction, starting with a tiny circle, increasing the size for additional challenge. And then reverse for 8. Bend the knee and lower that leg down. Okay. From here, if you have the ability to get some movement in the upper back, the hands are going to come up from behind the head, bend the knees, elbows wide, and you're going to curl up just a little bit with the head and the shoulders. This will not disturb the ribs or the hips. Just a little bit of movement. Hands are supporting the weight of the head. Slight curl and lower. If that does not work for you, please do not aggravate any injuries and just take a rest. But by laying on the floor, you can use it as a reference point that your hips are staying flat, your back is staying flat, your ribs are staying flat, and we're just getting mobility in the upper neck and the very beginning around the shoulders and the upper spine. One more time, please. And down. Okay? So, from from here, I think I have you come onto your side and just support the head with a bent arm. Knees are bent, spine is still straight, supported by the floor, and you can support your body with the top arm, hand being in the mat. Now the abs are tight even here, and we're going to come into a little bit of a clam. So the feet stay together, the top knee lifts, hips are stacked, and lowers. Lift and lower. Total of 8, please. And then keeping the knees together, you'll lift both feet. Make sure that we're not getting any movement in the spine. Just the feet are lifting, barely up off of the mat, a few inches. Keeping the spine straight, extend the top leg to straight. And just move that leg slightly forward and slightly back, toning the glute. Bring it a little bit forward and then back. The reason why we're keeping the move small is that we can maintain engagement and a neutral or a flat back. Otherwise, if we go too far, it might adjust and pull in the spine if you have any injury or reason that you don't want to bend at the waist. So just a little bit of movement here, keeping the hip nice and healthy and challenging the abdominals. And then we'll lift the leg up, careful not to completely dump the spine down into the floor, but to keep it straight and in line with the head, neck, all the way through upper back, mid back, low back to the tailbone. So just a little lift and lower of that top leg. We'll do 5 more. And if you need a break, please take it. And then we're going to do little leg circles. Let's do 5 in each direction. And reverse. And bend that knee in and just let that hip relax and catch up for a minute here. So it's possible that you can do this next move and feel comfortable keeping your spine in neutral, which is going to be that you're going to lift up so that you're on your forearm and keep the ribs lifted so it feels like you've got that nice long and straight spine. If this is not going to work for you, if you have any shoulder injuries, or if for some reason you notice that it feels weird and you don't have a mirror and it looks like this, that's not keeping your back straight. So if you can maintain that neutral square, or rectangle as it were, shape of the whole torso while being lifted, and great, and we can do this exercise. If for whatever reason it doesn't work for you, please sit this one out. But essentially it's just a slight increase in challenge, and we're going to go back to the clam. Let's go for 8 here. Hips are stacked, feet stay together, top knee lifts and lowers. Lift and lower. Keep going. Now if you need a break, you're going to take it and just lay down. If you can, we're going to stay up and we're just going to reach the top arm so that it comes up and past the head and then reaches up to the ceiling and down to the hip. The arm reaches up and past the head and down to the hip. 3 more times. If you're getting tired in that bottom arm or shoulder, take a break. Otherwise, you got 1 more. Then go ahead, assist, and bring yourself up to sitting. And we're going to switch sides, laying all the way down. The abs are on. Got a nice long spine. You're checking in with your form and your positioning. Okay? Starting with clams. 8 total on this side. Hips are stacked, feet are together. Take a break. Legs stay glued together as you just lift the feet barely up off the mat, a few inches, and lower down. Lift and lower. Keeping the torso nice and still. 2 more. Top leg reaches to straight hip height. We're going to bring the leg forward just a bit, only as far as you can keep your back in a neutral alignment. Leg reaches back behind you, toning the glute. Forward, creasing the hip. Back, working the glute. Forward and back. 3 more times. And then lower the leg down for a minute. We're just going to lift the leg straight up towards the ceiling and down. Lifting the leg only as far as you can keep the torso perfectly still. Keep going. If you need a break, take it. Otherwise, last one. And then when you're ready, 5 circles forward. And 5 circles in reverse. Smaller is easier to control. Bigger will be more challenging. We want to make sure that the abdominals are supporting the spine in that neutral position. More important than a big leg circle. Go ahead and bend the knee and take a little break. If you would like to try it, the lifting up onto the forearm on this side, you may know in advance you have a shoulder injury and you don't even need to exacerbate it. But maybe it works for you, in which case you'll lift with the ribs to keep that nice straight spine. From here we go back to the clams for 8. Feet stay together, top knee lifts. And then we're just going to add a little bit of arm mobility while we're up in this position. So the arm straight reaches up to the ceiling and then past the head, up to the ceiling and down to the hip. Cinch in at the waist. Keep going, 3 more with that top arm. Last one. Okay, and then I think we're going to lay onto the stomach and do really small movements for the back body. So you'll just extend the legs, roll onto the stomach, create a little pillow for the forehead with the hands, one on top of the other, with the elbows bent and out to the sides. And if for any reason this position doesn't work for you, you don't have to do it. But also, if for some reason it's too much here, maybe you could just use a little towel or a prop and help so that if you know you're going to need it, right, keep your form, but you could create a little pillow as you come down, if that's helpful. If you don't need it, you don't need it. So, from here, we're just going to first engage the abs. It's like you're trying to lift the belly button up off of the floor, and it doesn't change the spine alignment at all. It just tones the musculature that supports the bones. So the abs are on, and you're going to tone the glute. You're thinking to lengthen the right leg so much, abs, glute, length, that the leg lifts up just a little bit. And it should really feel like this whole right side is working. And then lower it down. Abs on first. Tone the glutes second. Lengthen through the toes, working the hamstring, the glute, the abs, full engagement, and relax down. If this bothers you for any reason, please stop and rest. But we're going to try and go for 3 more. Switching to the left side, total of 5 repetitions. Abs, left glute, reach through the toes, lengthen the leg so much that it lifts barely up off of the mat. Last one. Okay. And I think we're just going to bend the knees and bring yourself up again to that nice flat back position. Arms are straight, hands underneath the shoulders. And you're going to extend your right leg back to straight, placing the toes and the ball of the foot to press down into the mat, which will stretch through the Achilles and the calf. Abs are on nice and tight, and then bend the knee and replace it in. Switching to the left leg. Same thing on this side. And in. 1 more to each side. if you're working on a plank or a modified plank, here's a nice place to do it where you can get your right leg reaching back and pressing down into the mat. Abs are on tight. And you'll adjust your left foot so that the toes are pressing down into the mat. And then just lift the left knee, which puts all the weight into your arms and the legs, but you're still keeping your back flat. And then just lower the knee down when you need a little break. If that doesn't seem to work for you, okay, then you can come into the full plank. But if that's too hard, you're going to come out of it right away. You can navigate to forearms with both knees bent, keeping the back nice and straight, and you're just going to have to check in with the body and make sure nothing feels uncomfortable for you, other than, you know, the exercise part of the move. You can also be on forearm plank here with the legs extended, taking a break when you need it. So practicing, building up strength, tight tummy, strong arms, strong legs. And then we'll go ahead and really support the spine as you come up for just a minute. If your knees allow it, then you'll just take a break here, stretching out the feet. And then go ahead and support yourself up to standing.